and welcome to another episode of What Travis Says. My name is Travis, and today we will be continuing my Doctor Who rewatch. Today we will be talking about Season 1, Episode 4, Aliens of London. The Doctor attempts to bring Rose back to her own time just minutes after they left, but he misses the mark by about a year late. And aliens invade London. And in line with the number of main doctors, I will give you 13 interesting facts about this episode. This episode was the 700th Doctor Who episode in total. Now do you see why I wasn't too keen with starting with the classic series? This episode ended up having a few first introductions. It first introduced us to the Slitheen, who would then come back in Doctor Who later and also appear in the Sarah Jane Adventures. It also introduced us to the character of Tosh, who would come back in Torchwood. This episode also introduced us to British politician Harriet Jones. Yes, we know who you are. Played by Penelope Wilton, who Russell T Davies wrote the part of Harriet Jones specifically for. The Prime Minister of this episode was meant to be a Tony Blair look-alike, but the producers didn't really think that the resemblance was actually there, so they just scrapped that whole angle. This was the first time that the show explored the impact left behind when a companion travels with the Doctor. Since Rose came back a year later, Jackie, her mom, thought that she was murdered. Mickey was a murder suspect of Rose's disappearance. Now, we have had Bad Wolf references in previous episodes. I just haven't mentioned them because they weren't particularly interesting, but this Bad Wolf reference in this episode with the kid spray painting Bad Wolf on the TARDIS, when Russell T Davies saw that in the script, he retroactively made it a plot thread. This episode was originally underrunning, so Davies wrote more scenes for the episode, like when the Doctor and Rose were stuck in traffic, with Jackie interrogating Rose, with the Doctor tracing the spaceship's path. This episode was the last time that UNIT stood for the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, because the real United Nations wanted to have their name removed. Since the Doctor and Rose arrived a year late in the episode and they can't necessarily go back, it's interesting to think how from this episode on, at least for a few seasons, the production and the date in the episodes were kind of out of sync. When Rose and the Doctor are headed towards the ship, there's someone in the crowd that mentions Ken Livingstone. At the time, he was the mayor of London, and he implemented some rather experimental traffic measures. You get to see in this episode just how frazzled Mickey is, with Rose disappearing for a year and then coming back without explanation. But in later interviews, Noel Clarke, who played Mickey, said that, yeah, he didn't deserve to have a girlfriend at all the way he was acting. This is the first episode of Doctor Who since 1989 to end on a cliffhanger. And with it being the first of a two-parter, they showed a preview for the next episode, but people watching it live were understandably upset when big plot points were ruined in the preview. Stick around for tomorrow's video when we talk about the next episode of this two-part adventure, World War III. But that's it for this episode of my Doctor Who rewatch. As always, my name is Travis. Thank you for listening to what I have to say, and you will see me tomorrow.